Good morning. Welcome to Atlantic Blowout on Atlantic Television Network. This is a syndicated live program of the network featuring chit-chatting and conversation on special interest topics, news, events, and stories through correspondence reports, expert opinions, and stakeholders analysis. And headlines for today. The first is from Lagos State: 2 die, others rescued as building collapses. Electricity: NAV officers assault Ikeja Disco CEO over disconnection. Presidency: Tinubu approves employment of 774 National Health Fellows. Organ transplant: FG unveils guidelines to establish coordinate services. Financial management: FG also launches platform to track government assets. And finally, on the corruption: Yaya Bello's name not in account opening. This is from a witness. Remember, we are still open for advert placement, bookings, and commercials. You can connect with us on all our ATN socials on Facebook and YouTube, on Atlantic Television Network on Instagram and TikTok, on Atlantic TV Network 1, on Twitter, on Atlantic TV Net. You can watch us live on our website at www.atlantic.net.org.tv. We will go on a very quick break. When we return, we will continue with the rest of the stories. Stay with us.
The board, management and staff of Morrison Media Group presents the 2025 anniversary lecture of Atlantic Television Network and Wish 99.5 FM. Theme: Imperative of Private Media in Sustainable Development.
Keynote speaker, Professor Tony Iradia, erudite scholar and broadcast guru. Chairman, Professor Umar Pat, President, Society of Broadcasters, Nigeria, and Vice Chancellor, Federal University of Kashiri, Gombe State. Panelists: Chief Honorable Arthur C. Kalabo, Information and Communication Expert; Dr. Haka Tuait, Lecturer, Public Relations, Media and Communication; Dr. Bekwele Lawrence Dike, Lecturer, Marketing Communication and Public Relations; Opaka Dakuba, Chairman, South-South, Nigerian Union of Journalists; Susan Serakara Nwikana, Chairperson, Nawach, River State; Chief Host, Dr. Chinyere Igwe, Esquire, FSM, FINC, FNINN, MNIM, ARPA, MIPPA. Chairman, Morrison Group. Date: 10th of March 2025. Venue: Dimeji Banquet Hall, Gate Place Hotel, Kilometer 5 East West Road by Obirikwere Flyover, Rumosi, Port Harcourt. Time is 11 a.m.
Call Kehinde Paul Obofadi on 0802 301 5728. That is 0802 301 5728 or info@atlanticnetwork.tv or network.tv. This is signed by management.
Welcome back. Joining us here today to discuss today's analysis is a public policy analyst, Mr. Young. Be here with us, sir. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you
very much.
3-story building has collapsed in the Lekki area of Lagos, with 2 persons reported dead and 6 rescued so far. The Permanent Secretary of the Lagos State Emergency Management Agency, Olufemi Damilola Oke Osayi Tolu, disclosed this in a statement on Wednesday. Oke Osayi Tolu, who said the immediate cause of the incident is yet to be ascertained, added that further investigations will be conducted. So far, 2 adult males have been extricated from the rubble of the collapsed building. 6 seriously injured adult males were rescued and were administered immediate medical care by the LRU pre-hospital care unit before being transported to Marina General Hospital for further treatment, the statement said. Lasima said its response teams have commenced search and rescue operation, and LRT is coordinating other common stakeholders for effective response at the incident scene. It added that the agency's heavy-duty equipment was deployed to the incident scene and is still in operation, and light heavy-duty equipment has been deployed for the search and rescue operation. So I would love to find out. I don't know how conversant you are with most of this building situation, because yes, I know you have a role. You actually have an idea to an extent, because oftentimes we get to wonder: is it that the building plan was not properly conducted, or they use low budget equipment, to construct most of these houses that we've noticed consistent collapses in time past. Even in Port Harcourt is not exempt. River State is not exempted in this issue. In December, if I'm not mistaken, we got a similar situation of a building collapse that has happened, of recent. This calls for worries, and if you may ask me, but I'd love to get your thoughts on this, please, sir.
In fact, you have, in discussing, in fact, in bringing Port Harcourt in, it just reminded me of very sad memories on this issue of building collapse. It wasn't something that we are familiar with until what they call Sakwe, somewhere in mile 2 Dube, between mile 2 and mile 3. Okay. 1990s, and then I think the military, they were still here then. So, in fact, for every person in River State, it was a very black day. But again, since then, we have also seen some of these things reoccur. We saw, not too long ago, we saw one at the GRA Phase 3. GRA Phase 3. And some of these things are directly associated with, like you mentioned, the violation of building codes, poor materials that are being used. In fact, compromise of standards, sometimes town planning regulations, and sometimes also negligence on the part of the professionals that supervise these jobs, and the lack of diligence to do soil tests. Okay. We are talking about leaking, so we expect that the different regulators will diligently conduct, the necessary tests, make sure that the materials that are being used, that they are of standard, and ensure that along the line there's, in fact, no compromise. So regular be up and doing. Okay,
that you may cut your short. You talked about regulations.
Yes.
In that instance, is it that anyone that wants to build, that wants to start up a foundation, needs to, get involved or register or call to the notice of the town planning situation that you mentioned?
Yes.
That, okay, I have a building plan.
Yes.
I would need an inspection on it before I commence my building plan. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yes, that's what I'm trying to say, because you have the drawings.
Okay.
You take these drawings to the town planning division. The town planning division, Lekki being because Lekki is a new development area, so long as we are concerned.
Yeah.
It's a new development area. So you need to also liaise with the town planning division. They will be able to know whether those areas where you want to build, whether they are suitable for that kind of a structure. Here we are talking about a 3-story building. A 3-story building that is being constructed. We have also seen in areas where approval will be given for 3-4 stories, and then people unilaterally, perhaps corner the town planning, the staff of the town planning division, keep them away from coming regularly to inspect, and before you know, they have increased all such structures to a structure that is a land that could carry just about maybe about 3 story. Sometimes they increase it to 5, they increase it to 6.
Why do you think they do that?
Of course, they are cutting corners, but also doing themselves on the long run. They are cutting corners to do it, and but on the long run also on doing themselves, because lives, lives are involved. You know that when such things happen, the first target is life, and that's why our condolences is actually to those, the victims of some of these things.
So, if I may ask, most of those individuals that do not seek the consent of this the town hall committee or planning for regulations and inspection of the particular soil or the property before they commence building in that particular spot. If they do not do that, are there supposed to be penalties?
Of course, you are liable. You are liable if you are prosecuted for an area. First, you have brought your plan. Let's assume that you brought your plan.
Okay.
And they approve that, look, for this development area, in fact, for this space, it could be for a particular geographical area, you know, within Lekki. And they say, look, we have looked at the soil here, we have conducted soil tests. It cannot carry beyond a particular, perhaps it could only carry bungalows.
Okay.
And then you went ahead, you know, to build maybe 2-story building, 3-story building, and this kind of thing happens.
And other parts of the country, the country where they have swampy areas.
In river states, these things are applicable. Go and develop land anywhere. Even way back, I don't know what it is now, but even under the military administration then, go and put anything, even at the waterfronts, and you see the Port Harcourt City local governments. They have their own town planning division.
Okay.
And immediately you see them, they come and mark X. If
on this situation. Moving forward, Nigerian Air Force personnel have allegedly attacked Ikeja Electric's headquarters, assaulting CEO Sultan after a power disconnection over unpaid bills. The headquarters of Ikeja Electricity Distribution Company has on Thursday been invaded by personnel of the Nigerian Air Force following the disconnection of electricity supply to the force's logistics base. The officers, who were reportedly enraged by the disconnection, stormed the premises, demanding immediate reconnection despite outstanding bills and allegations of electricity theft. Eyewitnesses say the situation escalated quickly as the personnel went on a rampage, breaking down doors around her. The officers allegedly assaulted Sultan and forced her into the trunk of a vehicle within the premises. A similar attack occurred at Ikeja Electric's business unit on Ago Palace Way, Okota, Isolo, Lagos, where military personnel were seen wielding firearms and assaulting staff members. A viral video circulating online captured over 7 staff members seen kneeling on the ground while others were being physically assaulted. Armed personnel patrolled the premises, further heightening concerns over the use of force against civilians or civilian workers. And I don't know if that slogan still applies to us up till now. I'd love to get your thoughts on this quickly, sir. I will see situations where most of this electricity officers, power officers come to disconnect power from a particular neighborhood and they get assaulted. So sometimes probably there's a misunderstanding with payments and disconnection situation, and we sometimes it calls into a rift of altercation, of exchanging blows and all of that. But this coming from people that are there to serve us and assaulting a CEO, putting her in the trunk, you know, I really don't know more to say on that. Please, I'd love to get your thoughts on this, sir.
Well, let me make a distinction that most times you have just talked about first the civil populace. The other one that you also made reference to, where sometimes within a neighborhood, a civil neighborhood, there's a conflict between electricity managers and those living in the neighborhood. Those ones could be understood, because sometimes the reaction to it is the fact that, okay, electricity distribution company came to give them bills, bills for lights, for electricity that they did not consume, so they might be contesting that when the people come around and begin to disconnect. We have all seen situations in areas where we live. For nearly 2 months, there have been no lights. And that week, when they will finally rectify it, immediately they rectify, they just give it some 2 days, and then they are back with bills, most times estimated bills. And also, it has to do with the fact that even the prepaid meters, they are not also available for citizens to purchase, because these are things that would necessarily have made some of these conflicts unnecessary. I consume what I paid for, so you don't see such things. Now, coming back to the issue of the Nigerian Air Force, going to Ikeja electricity distribution company, it's a very sad development, and we need to condemn it. We need to live beyond we need to live above this level of in fact, it's purely a breach of contracts that we are seeing here. The distribution company said, you have not paid. They are in business. They are in business. The distribution company, they also buy lights, from the generation companies, and if you look at the chain, from generation to transmission, they are also buying lights. So whatever they are supplying, they are buying. So if they have supplied the lights for a particular period of time and they are not paying, if there's no money to buy lights, how can they supply you lights? So it's purely and so on. How much should be used, the expenditure on each of these, I'm sure will be outlined there. So what is the problem? What is the problem? Defense is usually prioritized and is on the first line charge. So we expect that naturally they should not be facing all this. So where is the problem coming from? Along the line, where is that problem coming from? And this is a clear human rights abuse also. You don't go to somebody, first there's a situation of a breach of contracts where you are not doing your own, and then you now, because you feel that might is right, now might becomes right, and then you subject the CEO, I think Sultan also, Mrs. Sultan, you subject her, put her in the trunk of your vehicle, and then they begin to pummel the staff that are working there. It doesn't happen anywhere. So we must see ourselves as citizens that are equal. If you have any issue against them, you approach the necessary channels instead of taking laws into your hands, because this is clearly taking the laws into your hands.
More like a situation where, because of the space I occupy, as for them, the Nigerian Air Force, because I am a military personnel, so I am allowed to react in any kind of way. Has the country gotten to that point? And then let's go back to, please, brutality, the military brutality, the army brutality on the civilians, in the country. This instance, oftentimes we notice that they do this and go scot-free. Why has that been a persistent situation in the country?
For God's sake, these are vestiges of the military era. But now we practice a democracy. And so if any of the parties, feel otherwise, you can actually sue the authorities in courts. What we expect is that, and which is what so many development agencies are trying to do, just to be handling this with Ikeja distribution company. I'm very sure that we would have had better results, because they would have known how to handle issues like this. But where you now took laws into your hands from whichever authority, and then you went there and started beating up people that are legitimately, person. So these are issues that need to be taken up, so that they don't continue to repeat themselves. In fact, I expect that they should even take some legal action and make sure that this kind of precedence
Do not repeat.
does not repeat.
If the legal action, if we may look at it, is not a bad idea, but a military, when even as much as you say taking them to court in that instance because of dehumanization, always goes scot-free. Even sometimes, let's say there was a mistake use of firearm and a life was lost. In that situation, they are taken to court. They always, mostly, oftentimes go scot-free in that situation, that the victim or the family of the victim do not get justice in that instance. Is there supposed to be, I don't know, is there something that has to be done in order for, whenever a situation like this arises, the perpetrators need to be penalized accordingly, no matter your level or whatever standard you have achieved in that false space, if I may say that.
Let me quickly say that you know, they have their own rules of engagement and standards of operation.
Okay.
You might be thinking that nothing is being done, but I also know, taking a cue from the Diop 4, you know the Diop 4?
Yes, sir.
Taking a cue from the Diop 4, which happened between them, is seen as an elite force amongst the security organizations,
yes,
that ought to have gone beyond this level of you know, infraction. So we expect that without any bias, I want to say that I'm very sure and confident that they will look at some of these issues internally and come up with what I think are best practices in terms of engagement with the civil population.
Thank you so much on this, sir. Thank you on this analysis. President Bola Tinubu has forum National Health Fellowship upon completion of their program. Tinubu made the announcement on Thursday during the presidential launch of the program in Abuja, addressing fellows assigned to monitor primary health care centers across all 774 local government areas. He declared, "You are hired." The president stressed the program's role in strengthening Nigeria's healthcare system, describing it as a vital pillar of national development. His announcement followed an appeal by the coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Ali Pat, who urged federal, state, and local governments to integrate the fellows into the workforce to support universal health coverage. The National Health Fellows Scheme aims to drive innovation and meaningful change in the sector. The fellows were selected through a merit-based process from over 3,590,000 applicants. The initiative is a key component of Tinubu's Renewed Hope agenda, designed to revitalize Nigeria's primary health care system. Sir, I would love to get your thoughts on this, please.
Okay, well, first, the primary health care, we all know is the brainchild of Olukoyere and Sankuti, then I think under Babangida's administration. And since then it has come to stay. Primary health care, we are talking about primary health.
Yes.
We have secondary health, and then we have the tertiary health institutions. I think for me it's a positive development that you are also bringing in about 774, you know, fellows from the National Health, Healthcare, yes, fellowship, yeah. So that you are bringing them in, but still much needs to be done at that level. These people, the fellows that you are bringing, they have to also work with well-motivated staff. They have to work with well-trained staff. And you know, training has been an issue for some time now at the primary health care level. When it started, the local governments used to be responsible for sponsorship of the training of those who are going to work at that primary health care level. And they used to train at the River State, the one here at Rumweme, the School of Health Technology then, now College of Health Technology and so on. I can't get the precise name now. So, but over time, you know, issues have come up. We have had situations where in River State, for instance, the workers are agitated that they have not, in fact, in terms of conditions of service, their conditions of service are not being applied. In fact, in some situations, councils have long stopped training persons, and yet there are retirements. You know, this kind of scheme, this is not the first.
Yeah.
There was the time when they also recruited traditional birth attendants and also midwives. They brought in midwives, this one, so that they can be fully qualified to do some of these jobs that, yes.
Okay, you talked about the training, you've talked about the training subsequent times. Do we have to look at it from a different angle because of the brain drain that is going on in the health sector? Do you think that's why the president decided to take this decision of employing the whole 774 fellows into the health sector? And then you talked about the superintendent, the retired medical personnel training this primary healthcare fellows into the system in order to, you know, bring them up to the standard that they need to in order to conduct their services rightly. More oftentimes, not oftentimes, we've noticed that most of them have literally decided not to come back into office. Some of them have left the country due to certain reasons. Some of them have decided to drop these licenses. You know, in this instance, do we still say that we have enough to train these people to that standard? And then you talked about, while we're bringing in this the retired ones to train them, we also need to brush them up to the level of because the world is evolving.
Yeah.
Yes, and knowledge evolves, so you learn every day. You know, to also train them to get up to the standard that the health sector has gotten to. Because I'm sure there will be different facilities, because there are new discoveries of some sicknesses that has been, you know, going on in time past up till now. You know, most of this retired stuff. Yes. Do we still have enough of them in the system to be able to train this primary health care fellows?
Yeah, I even raised it in the context of continuity. Most times when they bring them in like that, it's for a contract within which may not even be renewed. Secondly, you raised a very vital point. That we are in a technological age, and some of these persons might not be following up. In fact, the analog on how some of these things. So, not just recruiting them and throwing them over that sector, but we also expect that they too, there should be continuous training. Not just, you have to bring them up to date before you deploy them to that to the primary healthcare level. But I understand what you're saying. For instance, the integration of this 774 as part of the recruitment policy, of course, directly goes to the issue of renewed Hope agenda. And they need to ensure that people are dissuaded from this Japa syndrome.
Yes.
Yes, I understand. In fact, it was part of the president's own plan.
Yes.
You know, when the Japa syndrome was very much until Trump, you know, put a spanner temporarily into it. But the president has said, look, I'm going to make the health sector, you know, very attractive so that you don't have any need to go there. Employment, recruiting them, this 774 is just the first step. We need to commend him for that, but there has to be more. There has to be more.
Involve the
you have to look at
you have to look at the provision of facilities.
Yes, provision of facilities
and the
yes,
payment.
Kuba, Chairman, South Nigerian Union of